Jody saw you.
What?
Jody had you brought up.
Yeah, we got a live stream to YouTube now, so we're trying to get that up. Oh, close it? Not that, oops, this one. Close this?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna close it.
okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes, I think we're up and running.
So I can talk.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to. I will call this June 26th, 2025 Starke County PTABOA hearing to order. All parties are present. First on the agenda is a review and approval of our April 17th PTABOA hearing minutes. Has everyone read them? Are there any corrections or deletions?
I read them, I was fine with them.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the April 17th minutes as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next on our agenda, Jesus Cares Ministries. They are asking for an exemption to be for the last part of 24, page 25. And Pastor Daniel Hamilton is not present at the hearing, but Tori has spoken to him, and I believe that you have some information that you would like to share with the board regarding his request and the exemption appeal for 24. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
So I talked with the auditor's office, him reviewed all the paperwork. All his paperwork was turned in on time. Actually, his paperwork was turned in the day before the title went in, so he did everything properly. I don't have a problem taking the exemption for the second half of 2024. First half was paid by the previous owner.
The previous owner gave him a credit in the closing that covered the first half of the
Right,
taxes.
so the first half is taken care of. So what we're truly talking about is the second period.
Of 24.
Right, due to the fact that everything was paid or properly filed, he was in communication with Michelle. Did everything he was asked to correctly without anything being late, any hiccups. He is a church moving forward, he's going to get the exemption. I do not see any reason why we can't have that exemption since it happened in September. For the second portion of 2024.
And he appeared before us to ask for the exemption for 2025, which we already granted.
Right,
Okay,
right, so 25 and forward is taken care of, we're just in question of the second portion of 24. All his paperwork was done, like I said, and everything's filed before December. It's not even like he went into to 25. But he did it right with the title dates.
okay,
So he is operating as a church.
okay.
I personally believe that he should be granted the exemption for the second portion of 24.
Are you gonna make that a motion?
I guess I'll make it a motion.
Okay, and I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. The exemption will be granted for the second half of 2024. If there's nothing further, these proceedings for Pastor Hamilton are concluded.
I think that was a Motown hit. I second that emotion.
And the
Don't start,
next
John.
appeal is scheduled for 9:15.
Mhm.
And it's not quite 9:15 yet, so.
Okay. So we're already ahead schedule.
And I'll go ahead and say right now for the record, I haven't heard from any of these people. That they weren't attending except for the very last one.
Okay,
And I did not receive any of the forms back that they were undeliverable, that notified them of the hearing.
okay,
And the last one. He said you could make a decision in his absence. He was willing to settle as long as he could get the.
our 1115 appeal,
Yes.
Okay.
He was willing to settle as long as he could get the age deduction or age credit or whatever it's called now.
okay,
And it's no longer dependent on assessment, so.
okay.
He said we could hear it in his absence.
It's no longer dependent upon assessments for 25, page 26. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and I have to,
New analysis.
I have to say for the record,
Is that for?
for
I
John,
haven't for several.
I still
You got one.
appreciate all the work that you put into this. And let's see, what do I, are you asking? Yes.
There's a new type of analysis I'm using to defend values.
And is
Linear
this with
regression.
all of your appeals?
Well, anywhere I got the burden of proof and.
Okay. I mean, what I'm asking is, I don't need to tear this out to use with others.
No, I mean, it's specific to I make one whenever I
It's
need it.
specific for each
Particular
one.
field.
Okay, yes, okay. And I knew that, I just wanted to say that on the record.
Yeah, I. Whatever evidence the petitioner has given me, you have, and whatever evidence he has given me, you have in your packets there, so.
Does that show
Who's on? Yeah,
who's on YouTube or who's on
they're on the Zoom.
Zoom? Okay.
Thank you. See who's on YouTube.
You can't see who's on YouTube watching, just whoever's on Zoom.
Well, I want to ask you something, so I don't keep asking you it. Do you? I mean, maybe I shouldn't state it that way. I don't know how else. Do you typically have a preliminary conference with all these appeals? Or does it,
It depends.
okay,
On the nature of what their complaint is. Sometimes they have very obvious issues that I can tell probably haven't been addressed, and
Okay.
especially condition issues.
okay,
I usually try to talk to these people and make inspections in advance. If they have a very vague complaint, generally about value, and if it's not an older, lower quality house and low condition, then I figured there's probably not much I'll be able to do with
to
an
explain,
inspection.
to explain.
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
I'll usually jump
Okay.
right into the defending the value in that case.
okay. So I may ask you. Before you, depending upon, before you start giving testimony, but that's just because. If the petitioner has any idea what's going on. Okay,
Right.
okay,
Now, there's been a couple cases where they've actually requested in their complaint, informal, so I'll make sure I do that then. If they come in and discuss the issue at the counter, that can almost be considered an informal hearing,
Correct.
because especially to go over details of the property record card.
Correct.
Is there just the one microphone, or is this something over here?
I think that's a microphone as well.
Okay.
Yes. These are gonna be long, boring YouTubes when the people don't show up. Yeah.
I used 15 minutes was too short. It actually is for an occasional one, but
Right.
they balance out.
Mhm.
I try to have a schedule longer than that if I know it's gonna be involved.
Who are you folks?
Micah Cox, Rachel,
Hi,
sit for I think 9:30.
Yes.
Victoria. Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Well, we're here. You gonna come watch the show then for a little bit?
What?
You gonna get a feel for it?
Well, I didn't know if there were gonna be anything else or not.
Usually it's just.
So far, the one before you is not here yet. Unless you wanna hear this one first and then see if the other guy shows up late since they're here.
We can do that. Let's listen to them.
Give him a minute. She go to the restroom.
Yeah.
We can wait a second for it. Is it weird being here? Is it weird being here out there? Why?
This is a copy of your property order.
Okay.
Oh,
I think I organized them for a different code.
oh, yeah, that means something, so I'm talking to myself. Stop it,
We just talk out loud.
talking to myself, and this is long before I got here. Morning, folks.
Howdy.
Have you ever been in an assessment appeal hearing before?
No.
Okay, let me tell you briefly how this works. So. Tori and I are the board, we're the ones gonna make the decision about your appeal. The county assessor, Michelle, she's not a voting member. John will defend the assessment, that's a gentleman on the end. You guys can speak first, tell us why you filed your appeal, why you believe the assessed value to be in error. If your issues, hello.
I would take issue with that because she bears the burden because the assessments.
They defend, but she can't speak for the board. So she doesn't sit on the board because she is the
No,
assessor.
but I guess she would go first.
Oh.
She bears the burden.
So the assessor is not a voting member of the county board.
What he's saying is he thinks the assessor should.
He wants John to speak first.
You want John to speak first because the burden is on the county. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because the assessment is more.
Is greater than
5%.
5%.
So the presumed previous value is the assumed assessed value unless they can.
Right,
prove-
so when we allow the petitioner to talk first, it's just so you can voice your opinion real quick, and then he can defend why they did what they did, what your concerns are, that's all that is.
So you can ask questions, it can be a back and forth,
Yeah.
it's not your final chance to talk.
Sure.
But I don't mind going first if you want.
So what you wanna do, you want him to go first?
Yeah, I mean, that's what statute says.
Okay, well then John will speak first. And testify as to how the assessment was established. Okay, we may ask him questions. Then you can speak and tell us why you believe the assessed value to be in error. We may ask you questions. You can both make brief concluding remarks if you want to. It's not necessary that you do. We will probably make a decision about your appeal today. You will then also get a letter in the mail from the assessor's office at a later time stating again what our decision was. So that's kind of how it works. Any other questions?
No,
We're good?
yeah,
Okay. All right, so the total assessed value being appealed is 280,300 for 25, pay 26. And since the burden of proof is on the county, John will testify first.
Okay, every year the assessor is required to update values of all property in the county. The state of Indiana dictates that this must be accomplished by performing ratio studies on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. This process derives trending factors from those properties that are recently sold that are then applied to all properties in each neighborhood. This is a mass appraisal process that produces values that broadly reflect the general market value trends. This kind of process is necessary because it would be extremely time and cost prohibitive to perform individual appraisals, searching comparables for the 10,600 plus homes in Starke County. This mass appraisal trending process led to the updated trending factors that produced the latest valuation of your property. For reference, the median value increase for dwelling improved parcels in your neighborhood was 7.6%. while your particular parcel increased 6.0%. Now, we have reached the appeal stage and we can afford more time and effort to review your property valuation with a detailed analysis in order to determine if the current value is a reasonably accurate estimate of its market value. So how can we derive a value estimate of your property based on the sales of other properties? Well, I've done a comparable sales analysis and I'll give you a copy as I go over it, take a little while to explain it. This worksheet documents several comparable properties. And I performed a price per square foot analysis and a linear regression analysis. We'll focus on gross living area as the key variable to measure against sale price. Gross living area is the total finished above grade living space of a home. Appraisers consider this as one of the most important factors in a home's value. Generally and logically, the more living area a home has, the more it will sell for. Now, there are other factors that affect value. While things like decks and porches and number of bathrooms and central air conditioning can have an effect, they are relatively minor. This worksheet documents 8 factors beyond the gross living area that have the most effect on value. These are the columns with the color coding, and they also have a blue text as on the heading. These are effective year built, how old or new the house is. Past remodeling can have an effect on this. Grade, this reflects the quality and construction of materials and design of the home. Condition, style. Appraisers always avoid comparing single-story ranch homes to multi-story homes because they do not share similar cost or market characteristics. Basement, garage area, outbuilding value, and land size or acreage are the key factors here. Among all of the sales in the county, I've chosen the 10 best comparables. The first yellow shaded row shows the median figures for each of the key factors or characteristics. The second yellow shaded row shows those same key factors for your home, the subject home. There's a minimum maximum row showing the selection criteria used. Ideally, for the sake of comparability, the minimum should be close to the maximum, but we have to widen this window enough to capture a large enough sample of sales to perform a meaningful analysis. 5 comparables is the absolute minimum necessary, but 10 to 12 is much better. It is important that the comparables bracket the subject property as much as possible. This means that for each factor or characteristic, there should be some sold homes that are superior to the subject and some that are inferior. Median figures for each of the factors help to measure this. Ideally, the figures in the 2 yellow shaded rows should be as close as possible. For each of the key factor columns. If on balance, the composite comparable is somewhat inferior or superior to the subject, we need to take this in consideration with our final analysis. Now, first, we can look at the price per square foot. We have, for each of these comparables, we have there's 10 sales and we have the gross living area and the sale price. And we can calculate a price per square foot. The median amount, in this case, for these 10 sales is $167.86 per square foot. Now, if we look at your total assessed value right now, divided by your gross living area, we're coming in at $153.50. So this is the first indication that your valuation is actually below the sales, so you're probably not over assessed. Now, we can look at this in a little bit more sophisticated way with what we call linear regression. And it's not really as complicated as it sounds. We simply take these 10 sales that we have above here and we plot on a scatter chart the gross living area versus the adjusted sale price. And I say adjusted because we have a few sales in here that are, see, do we? Actually, we don't in this case. Normally, I have sales that are more than a year old, so I have to time adjust it. In your case, I was able to find enough sales from 2024 and early 2025 that I don't even need to use a time adjustment. So these are the actual sale prices. So we plot those on a scatter chart. And in Microsoft Excel, we can put a trend line in there, a linear trend line, which is mathematically balanced through the center of those dots. And this line has a formula which we can then use to plug in your gross living area of the subject property and see what an estimated amount of what we would expect your property to sell for based on these 10 sales. Now, this is predicated on the comparability of these sales. Now, that's where we have to kind of go back and take a look, compare the yellow lines. Now, you yellow shaded rows, your house was built, has an effective year of 2004. The composite of the comps is 2001. From 2001, 2002, so it's pretty close. They're going to have similar amounts of depreciation. The grade factor, I wasn't able to find enough higher grade homes. Your home is slightly above average in quality and construction, has a 105 factor. So the composite of the 10 sales is just about 5% lower, but it's still pretty good. We're looking at average versus average. These are all ranch homes. Your house has no basement. Some of these comps have some unfinished basement. The median is actually unfinished, less than 100 square feet. So there's a little bit of superiority there in the comps. But there's inferiority in grade, as we discussed. The garage is pretty similar. The amount of outbuilding value is pretty similar. The amount of acreage is pretty similar. So we're talking good composite comparable or 10 comparables that are pretty good overall compared to yours. And when we plug it into your formula down at the bottom, we get a predicted sale price of around $301,000. That's what we would expect it to sell for based on these 10 sales. So that again is that's a second indication that your property is not overassessed. And I would say that there's actually a third one in this case. If we look at the very first sale on that list, this is a property that's identical and effective year built and condition and also has no basement like yours. It's slightly inferior in grade and garage size, but it's slightly superior in outbuilding value and acreage. Overall, again, that single comp, that sale number one is pretty comparable to yours. It's just a little bit bigger. It sold for $349,000. That's 2,246 square feet of gross living area. And it's actually located right next door to you to the west. So, and if we look at the price per square foot of that, it's $155.48. And again, yours comes in a little bit lower at $153.50 for a really good comparable. So I would say we have three different indications that your value is not overassessed. So that's what that's the evidence I present to the board.
Thank you, John.
Do I get to ask questions? or-
Yeah, just one
And I'm
second.
sorry, I didn't catch your last name, sir.
Viveris, V is in Victor, I, V again, EIROS.
All right. So my understanding of what you just said is that you're using a mass appraisal process, right?
That's how we assess in general, yeah. That's how we originally got your training factors. I'm using a methodology I came up with, and I've seen it used before. I actually seen tax reps use this on appeals to try to establish values. And it is an estimate, just like an appraisal would be an estimate,
Sure.
opinion of value.
So my question is are you using a mass appraisal process or are you not? That's all I'm asking.
You talking about this?
I'm saying the process to come up with the evaluation.
The original process to come up with the evaluation was a mass appraisal process.
Okay, so have you been inside the subject property that's here for appeal?
No,
Have you been inside the properties you've identified in your, I'm gonna call your exhibit, your comparable cell analysis?
yeah, no.
Okay. And you mentioned that your evaluation is based on a neighborhood, right?
Well, the way we do the original trending process is by trending by neighborhood, which is we take all the sales in your particular neighborhood and we do sales ratio studies. And that tells us whether we're too high or too low. We come up with a trending factor, which we then apply to everybody in that neighborhood. And within a neighborhood's kind of a broad area. It would include all kind of houses, old houses, new houses, big houses, small houses. It's an economic neighborhood.
So the question I'm trying to ask is, so what constitutes the neighborhood for your analysis?
Well, neighborhoods, I got a thing here where I explain how are neighborhoods defined. Neighborhoods are generally large geographic areas that have similar market characteristics. Broadly speaking, in Starke County, there are 8 types of neighborhoods. Bass Lake, Lakefront, and Lakeview, Bass Lake area off water, Coons Lake, Lakefront, Coons Lake, off water, City of Knox, Town of North Judson, Town of Hamlet, and the remaining rural area of the county. Most of these areas are broken down further into individual neighborhoods due to difference in market characteristics. And that just depends, like City of Knox is big enough that there are different areas of town that, that are more, have different characteristics. They have older houses and,
I'm asking is what are you defining as the neighborhood that I'm in?
oh, your particular neighborhood, get your property record card. I believe it's a rural. Your neighborhood is rural Oregon, and basically Oregon Township is only divided into 2 separate neighborhoods there, the area north of Highway 30 and south. We found that the sale don't show that there's any need to delineate or separate any further than that.
Okay, so you're saying the neighborhood is the Oregon Davis Township.
Yeah, no, your particular neighborhood is Oregon Davis north of Highway 30.
So your analysis and coming up with the value would include home sales in that area.
Yeah,
Okay. And when you come up with these values, you associate a grade with the home, right?
well, yeah, we do that. We already have grades on homes and we review those periodically, but they really shouldn't change unless they've already been remodeling or, that's the quality of construction design of the home.
Right, so you would agree that the quality of the construction, the grade of the materials used in the construction of the home, all these different things, maybe different features in the home, would raise the grade.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's based on that.
Sure. Okay,
If you have better quality stuff, you're gonna have higher grade.
and then lower quality construction materials, contractor grade materials, less features that would lower.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, and so, you gave a lot of weight in particular to the property located at 9765 East 750 North, which was next door to me, and you thought that you gave that a greater weight than many of the other sales. Is that a fair assessment of what you said?
well, that was just, I looked at I came up with 3 different ways to look at value, and that was a third one, just focusing on that one sale.
Okay. Did you look at the sale for the home at 95, 115 East 750 Road North? Or the assessed value of that home?
Is it on our list of 10
No,
comparables?
it's 3 houses down.
Okay, yeah, no, I filtered the comparables based on the 8 value characteristics, so if there was a property sold. Another nearby one that I don't have on the list, then it fell outside of the range, there must be something not as comparable about it.
Okay. And then another piece of information, you indicated that homes that are 2 stories. I inferred what you said, that they're assessed at a much higher value because they're 2 stories, the market's better.
No, actually, it's less, they tend to have a lower cost per square foot and than ranch homes, because building vertically. If you have like a 2,000 square foot house, you're gonna have 2,000 on a ranch, 1 story, you're gonna have 2,000 square foot of basement, 2,000 square foot of, or not basement, but foundation, whatever it is. And roof, 2,000 square foot. But if you have a 2-story house, it could be 1,000 square foot over 1,000. You're only gonna have 1,000 square foot of base or foundation and 1,000 roof. So there's lower cost associated with building vertically. And that, so appraisers, you'll see when appraisers do their fee appraisals, they rarely ever they always try to avoid comparing ranch homes to multi-story homes, because they have completely different cost per square foot.
Okay. And you know, this is just your opinion question, because you're an appraiser, I assume, right?
I'm certified as a level 3 Indiana assessor / appraiser. I'm not a fee appraisal. I don't have residential certification as far as that goes.
Okay. All right, I'm done with my questions.
Okay. Do you have, do you have any testimony that you would like to give us?
I do. Okay, so first I would say that the proceeding is procedurally defective under Indiana Code 1.115, 1.2A. Because a county or township official who receives a written notice under this section shall schedule a time and place to meet with the person challenging prior to the hearing taking place. It's a shall, so it's a mandatory function. If you look at Indiana Code 6, 1.115 and 1.1F, the filing of a written notice of appeal constitutes a request by the taxpayer for a preliminary informal meeting with the township assessor or county assessor if the township is not served by the township assessor. So there's that problem.
Before you move on,
Sure.
when he filed his appeal, it's typically offered some form of,
If
they
they,
could give
they discuss it over the counter with them, if they're willing to discuss it, that's what we consider the informal. However, it doesn't, it looks like this one may have been mailed in, so it's full.
was there, I guess what I'm asking is, was there contact after their,
After the
After-
appeal was filed?
yeah, cause I mean, you are supposed to offer for them to come and talk about it, or sometimes I know it goes far enough where you guys do a home visit if they're willing to do that. Was that not communicated? I guess is what I'm asking.
It doesn't look like in this case.
Yeah, and when we get appeals, we get a lot of appeals, so we have to make efficient use of our time. It depends on how the complaint is filled out and what the information that the taxpayer is proffering. That will make us decide whether or not to to actually try to contact them and have an inspection on the house. Because if they have very specific complaints, especially regarding condition and stuff, I want to go out and look at the house and find out what's going on. If they have vague complaints about the value being too high, or there's nothing specific about the house, then I generally just let it go to the appeal hearing.
For the law though, they are supposed to be offered. That's, I guess, the hang up that I have.
The informal hearings
Something is supposed to be offered, some kind of communication.
prior to coming to the
Yes,
PTABOA. Okay.
that's
Okay,
established.
All right, so that's the
So
first
I
thing.
can continue.
All right. Okay, so I guess the next thing is really most of my argument is condition grade argument. You know, and I went through all these sales and all these things, and I pretty much guessed what properties were gonna get picked, and I guess right on some of them, I didn't guess right on the other ones. The 9765 East 750 Road North, it is right next door to me. You know, the 2025 assessed value for that property on the improvements is $253 or $253,500. The main issue I have is this, is one, it's got an extra bathroom. It's larger in square footage. The lot the home is located on is larger. There's 2 garages and a pole barn. There was a new addition added in 2019. The finishes inside the home are much higher grade than mine. And the reason I know this is because I used to go in the home all the time before it was sold, because I was friends with people that live there. There's like a bar with a TV, a pool table, wood floors. There's pictures online of the listing indicating that there's carpets in there in the living room, but it's not. It was redone with all wood floors. So that home, comparing it to mine, is not really fair because it's got much higher level finishes. The second problem with that home is the person that moved into there has built a massive outdoor shooting range, and it's a nuisance property. Every single day that we come home, I sit up there and listen to this guy shoot guns all day long. He does it every day. He shoots probably 200 to 300 rounds a day. I don't know how he affords it, which I'm fine with people shooting, but every day is ridiculous. And part of my argument is this, is being located next to that nuisance property is artificially depressing the value of my property by that person being there, and there's nothing I can do about it. So if I go and try to offer this home on the market in the future, the first time someone comes to the showing and Yosemite Sam is out there unloading, it's going to make it, no one's going to want to live there, especially if you have kids, and I have 2 children. Because one, it's a safety hazard, it's a noise nuisance. There are other homes that have sold recently in the area. One's a ranch, one's a 2-story. One of them is 9515 East 750 North. That's on a 20-acre lot, so I'm not even really talking about the land. I'm just talking about the improvements. The assessed value for that property is $293,000. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's 1,000 square foot larger. It has a pond. It has a built-on sauna room. It has a hot tub inside the home. The grade of the finishes are far better. There's an attached pool to the back deck. There's a huge back deck. There's a finished outbuilding with heat. And that's another home I've been inside of. I won't talk about the 2-story one because apparently that probably doesn't bear as much weight.
Can I interrupt the last one you just spoke about?
Uh-huh.
So were you saying that it is, excuse me, if you. Were you saying that it was assessed less than yours?
No, it was assessed more than mine, but not that much more.
Okay,
And what I'm trying to say here is that area is spotty, okay?
Mhm.
There's a wild variation. There are homes I can walk to that sell for almost $1 million.
okay.
And then there's homes that regular people live in that don't sell for that much. I'm trying to point out that I think the grade is not, is
is
too
the
high,
issue.
right?
On your
And that's
property.
what I'm getting to.
Okay, excuse me.
So it's mostly contractor, it's one of these Menards, you know, plan houses. It's a contractor grade materials. The AC system needs replaced. Ever since I bought it in 2015, we've had either Merle Road Ring or McGrath out there every single year to replace something. They've both told me that I have to replace the entire system. That's going to cost $10,000. The roofing material is original to the construction of the home. And it's losing granules at a rapid pace. And so I'm going to have to replace that. That's another $10,000 to $20,000. And I've obviously got to replace the carpeting in the living room because it's a white carpet. Been there since the place has been built. I would also point out the pole barn that's on my property is completely unfinished inside, and a lot of the outbuildings around me are finished out, maybe not fully, but finished out to a higher level than mine is. Since I've been there in 2019, the value of the property has increased $112,000. And that's like 6 years, you know, that it's not up that much. It's kind of ridiculous. I haven't really said anything up to this point because I think we're now, the assessment that we had last year is where I think the value of the property probably is. Based on the level of finish, where it's located, being next to the nuisance property. All those things. I have this list of all these other homes that are $200,000 and below. They're the same square footage that have sold in this area. You know, Walkerton addresses. I can list them off, but you know, it's just like anything else. Like he said, you know, it's going to when they're built, the grade of the finishes. But I mean, I could come up with. I have 5 right here that are well below what mine was. And in fact, there's one I can literally see from my house, 7040 North State Road 23. It's 1,800 or 1,792 square feet, 4 beds, 2 baths. It was sold for $147,000. And that's the crux of my argument.
So, excuse me for interrupting. So these properties or sales that you mentioned. Am I correct in thinking that they were not included in the grid that
The
county
only one
is-
included in the grid
is the neighboring
is
property?
the neighboring property,
Is that correct?
right?
Okay.
You pull
I
back.
have a suggestion. I
John?
can go out and inspect the property.
That's what I was getting
Me
to,
too.
because, so the pole barn. You said it's unfinished on the inside, is it concrete floor, is it?
Concrete.
Personally, I think moving forward, it seems like. We need to do it, or you need to do
Field
a site
inspection.
visit. Would you be okay with? Having him come out? You know, whatever you
Today,
guys set
maybe.
up, yeah. Before the next hearing, at least, maybe,
Mhm.
cause then if he still has the same complaints based off of what you have found or changed or whatever. Then we can put him back on the schedule.
So
Yeah.
I object to that because it's their burden. Today's the hearing. And I'm not giving them another opportunity to prove what they have to prove because the value assessment is more than 5%, so it's their burden.
I understand that it's their burden, so. The only thing I'm suggesting is. With them doing a site visit, then that gives them. Go out there and correct it for you.
Well, all you have to do is go back to last year's assessment and I'll correct it for me.
But I understand what you're saying there,
John, you said that before we interrupted, you said you had a suggestion. Was it something other than the site
No,
visit?
That's what it was. I can go out and take a look at it and, you know, if I happen to agree that the grade's too high, we might be able to resolve it right there.
Is that
At least get the
acceptable? to
value
you?
down.
Well,
and
I object
so-
because
so I
it's the
under-
hearing and they bear the burden.
what he wants a
Do
decision.
you,
done,
do you not want the value reduced that?
So,
No, you
so,
don't understand the statute because if you don't meet your burden, it goes back to last year's value.
Which he is accurate on that, so. Basically, we're gonna make a decision today. He is objecting to the site visit, which he has all right to do.
True.
It should have been offered. When you turn the paperwork in all honesty, like that communication, what I hit in the beginning should have happened. It should happen with every single appeal. So you and I need to make a decision based off of what John has said, based off of what they have presented. And then we need to just move forward with that.
okay,
So we need to decide if John has proved his,
it has met the burden of proof.
it's not.
And use the board enough latitude to make any adjustments really with the board.
We do, even with. With there being state statute, PTABOA board can decide this is how we're gonna do this. You at that point can take it up to the state level if you don't agree with what we're saying, that is your right to continue it or to say, okay. We're gonna do it, however, you know. However, I think. That's something that we want to decide. I would feel. Comfortable. With the decision being based if they went out there, however, I do agree, if they were not offered that. That's the problem I'm having.
Well, so the problem that I'm having, and we're on record. and I don't mind saying it on record, because this is how I feel. So the problem that I'm having is, given the information that I have right now in front of me, I feel like the burden of the assessed value has been satisfied, and the burden of proof has been satisfied by the county. That's one side. However, there's a however, on the flip side, I feel like we may not be in this position if the county had met with you to have an informal hearing and to hear what your issues were. We may not even have come to this point. So then I'm torn. And it's not, I'm talking out loud. I'm thinking out loud. Sorry, guys. And it's not the board's position to determine the assessed value. That should be done. Before it ever comes to us, we just determine who best satisfied the burden of proof.
I'm struggling here. If they
Okay.
weren't offered
Right.
proper steps.
Well, let me help you along here, I'll just read to you what's in the Indiana Constitution.
I've been doing this for many years. You're welcome to read.
Well, I'll just say, that the tax regulation is supposed to secure a just valuation, right? And justice defines what's morally right and fair, right? And so I've been deprived of a statutory right here to even engage in any kind of compromise before the hearing. No one has been to the property. I've raised.
Did you make an attempt?
Yes,
Did
so
you make an attempt
Let me
prior
read
to
this.
today?
let me read the statute to you.
Be very careful what you say.
6, 1.1,
Yes.
1.1F.
Yes,
An appeal under this section may raise any claim of error, wrong section, hang on.
okay,
Filing of notice under this section, the appeal notice,
yeah,
constitutes a request by the taxpayer for a preliminary informal meeting. Period.
okay,
That's what the statute says. When I file a notice of appeal by statute, that is me requesting an informal meeting, and the statute has a shall in it for the assessor to schedule a meeting with it. It's not discretionary. It's a
Okay.
mandatory statutory function.
understood.
That's what I said, that the county had failed on that part too. Offer them that. When he filed his paperwork, every petitioner should be offered.
An informal hearing,
Right.
right,
So also looking at this, the last time they were offered was 2023.
okay,
Don't disagree with what John's saying, but I'm really hung up on the fact that it was failed to offer them the proper. I mean, that's their right to have the choice to say, yes, you can come out to my property. Yes, I'll let you inside. This is what I'm comfortable with, or no.
okay. So having said all that. And I'm in a really good position. Because I don't know you, I'm not from this county, I have no idea. Other than these people sitting here, who anybody is. And I do this in lots of different counties. So, having said that. I will make a motion. That the assessed value be reverted back to the 2024 assessed value because the county failed to offer the petitioner an informal hearing prior to coming to the board.
I think we add in that we need a site visit done too, though. Do you agree to let him come out? It needs to be accurate moving forward. Like for next year.
Well, no, I don't agree with site visit because you're just gonna do a reassessment next year, right?
When are you out there next? If you were out there in 23, be 4 years.
Well, as far as the actual route, 23, so then it won't be another couple of years before we're out there actually again.
In that area. So what that motion would mean is revert it back like you asked for. However, the board would like to see a site visit done. And that would be for the next taxing period. Whatever, the findings
Yeah.
are, which would give you the opportunity, if you don't like what they find on that, to go through this process again. How do you feel about that?
So you're saying a site visit before the next assessment date or the next
It needs,
reassessment cycle?
no, before the next assessment.
Okay, then I'm fine
From
with
my
that.
point of view, the only interest I have in a site visit is justification to keep for the value being down. Now, you've agreed the value is gonna revert, so that's fine, that the value will be that last year's value. But I'd like to have moving forward, some justification for that. Is it the lower grade? Is it
And
condition?
that's why I want you to go out there and do a site visit for the next tax.
Okay,
If I don't have that, I mean, it doesn't,
okay, so that's why you're
Yes.
adding the site
There's
visit
the
as well.
justification for
Okay.
lowering it, moving
Okay,
forward.
I agree.
So the motion would be to revert it back to,
The 24 assessed value, which is 264,400
right, and then just do a site visit for
as well.
the next taxing period.
and site visit will have no bearing on the value, 2025 value.
So it would be for 2026, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if I find any
Right.
data that's
Right.
different, the adjustments will be reflected then.
Yeah, because your taxes are always a year behind, but you understand how that works. It's always-
Right, but I mean, so if we're reverting to the assessed value, that means next year, this is gonna be the presumed correct assessed value in statute. If it raises more than 5%, do so. Right, sure.
Okay, motion been made and I seconded. All in favor? Aye, motion carries. If there's nothing further, these proceedings are concluded.
Mind, you
Thank
still
you.
have that option to take it to the state level if you don't know what happens. to it.
Oh, no. We're done, nothing personal, it's business, thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Okay, now we're way behind. Who's next? Who's next? Is the 9:15 come?
Yes. Are either of you,
General
or?
General Law. Nope,
No,
okay. Is there an? Is,
Andreas Wolf.
okay. Come on down. If you're feeling very brave. So. You wanna have a seat? So you're here to file an appeal on your assessed value for 2025. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So as you probably gathered by sitting here, I will explain it again. This lady and myself, we're the board, we're the ones that make the decision about your appeal and your assessment. So we're only gonna talk about your assessed value. If your issues are about your property taxes, we can do nothing about that, okay? That's the county assessor, she is not a voting member. The gentleman on the end is the person that will defend the assessment, okay? You can speak first to tell us why you filed the appeal, why you believe your assessed value to be incorrect. We may ask you questions about your assessment. Then John will tell us how the assessment was established. We may ask him questions. You'll both be given an opportunity to make brief concluding remarks. You don't have to. Then we will probably make a decision about your appeal and the hearing will be over. You'll be notified by mail at a later time from the assessor's office reiterating what our decision was. Okay, are we good? We're good?
Yeah.
All right, so the total assessed value that you're appealing for 2025 is $471,300. And I think that you contend on the appeal form that you completed, that the assessed value is better represented at $154,800. Okay? All right. So, Mr. Wolf, you may speak. Tell us why you think the assessment is incorrect.
I don't know where I got that number from. But I think that's what it previously was in 2023.
In 24, the total assessed value was $194,700.
It is the 22 assessment. 2022.
Thank you.
The value.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's where I got that number from the previous year.
From 2022 is the total assessed value of $154,800.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you buy this property recently?
Yeah, 1 year ago.
In 2024?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for the property?
480.
So you paid more for the property than the assessed value?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And you believe that it should be assessed at $154,800. Okay, thank you, Mr. Wolf. Tori, do you have any questions for Mr. Wolf, or would you like John to testify?
Go ahead and let John talk.
John?
Okay, on the 130 complaint, actually, the only thing that's written down is the land is being used as farmland. Is this true? Do you have any evidence of that? Because I have evidence showing photos that nothing looks farmed out there. You guys have the photos? There's an aerial photo, it just shows some patchy trees, and then I heard photos from 4 different angles.
No, I don't have no proof. I didn't bring no proof.
What are you farming?
It's my neighbor who's gonna be farming, so
Who's gonna be?
yeah. Yeah.
So it's not happened yet.
Not yet. but-
Okay, so it's not being farmed, then we can't assess on future, like,
Okay.
so it has to be happening for us to. So it's accurate that it is not being
Mhm.
farmed.
Yeah, the sales disclosure form, in the field planned use of property, the printed entry is residential. Now, that doesn't show up on the public version of the sales disclosure form because that information is considered confidential and non-disclosable under an Indiana code.
So when you paid the 480. When you purchased this, did you believe that was worth it?
Yeah,
Because when you purchase and you make that agreement that you're paying this for it, that is. The purchaser saying, I believe this is worth this amount of money. So there's a very big difference between the 480,000 that you purchased for and. What is it you're asking?
$154,800 is requested value.
Which 154.8 is also a 2022 assessment. It's not even a very current assessment. It's not being farmed.
So was this property listed with a realtor when you purchased it?
yeah.
Okay,
Yes, and actually, the assessment is coming in under the purchase amount. It is
That-
771.3.
that's correct. Okay.
I would make a motion to leave it because it is under,
Less than the sale
it
price?
is under the sales price. Which at the time of purchase, he believed it was worth 480,000. And it's
And
not
the
being
indicator of
farmed.
value.
Right, and it is not being farmed. So we can't even talk ag land or anything like that.
So then when it's going to be farmed,
Mhm.
then what does he, so I agree with Tori, that there's no change in this. I'll agree to leave the assessed value at 400 and, I'm sorry, 71,300. There's no change in the assessment. I agree with Tori. Okay, but aside from that, once it is being farmed,
Mhm.
the land, then what does Mr. Wolf need to do to prove to you guys that yes, this land is being farmed? What does he need to do?
Michelle might answer that.
Usually they bring in either, an income tax record showing that they are making money farming or losing money farming, either way. Or, they bring in like the agreement with the farmer who is farming it, that it's being farmed. Or,
At the very least to notify us so we can. view
notify,
the property.
or notify us
Yeah.
while it's, once it's planted or whatever, so he can go out and look and see that it's being farmed. Any of those triggering things so that we can go see, and once it's farmed, then as long as it's visibly being farmed before January 1st of the new assessment year, then we can change the use to farm.
Right.
Did you understand all that, Mr. Wolf? Okay, so be sure and notify the county when it's gonna be farmed.
Preferably when you can see the, corn or soy or whatever it is, mint, whatever it is, preferably when you can see it in the field, let us know and we can go out and we'll be like, oh yeah, it's clearly being farmed.
And then the assessed value will be decreased considerably, okay?
Because farmland is not assessed at market value.
Okay, if there's nothing further, these proceedings are concluded. Yes, I'm sorry.
Change.
Okay, I will second. No change.
No.
Thank you, sir. Okay,
I think the next one is Shirley Passamonte.
good morning. How far behind are we? Not too bad.
Yeah.
Catching up. Do you want to have a seat?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to bore you with the procedure again. Because you very patient ladies have been sitting back here long enough that you now know how this works. Okay, so Passamonte, if you would please tell us, ma'am, why you filed this appeal and why you believe the assessed value that you're appealing is in error, and the assessed value that you're appealing is $334,900. And I believe that you indicated on the appeal form that you completed, that you believe the assessed value is better represented at $264,400. Okay. Can you tell me how you arrived at your requested value?
The people south of me sold their house and they got into a bidding war. It affected my house.
Okay,
And then they thought my house was worth more, which it is now. My house needs a lot of repairs and windows, and my house needs a new roof, and the foundation is cracking, there are things about my house that need, repairs. It's just, that, yeah.
okay,
And I lost my, and one of the things was that I lost my senior discount because of that. My house rate went up and I lost my, discount. It's 7 or so. It was like a turmoil, in my mortgage has gone up and my taxes have gone up. It's really quite an issue.
okay,
I wanna step in right here.
okay,
When you leave here, you should probably go upstairs and to the right in the auditor's office. It is my understanding that the assessment requirement on the age has been eliminated for 25 payable in 26. So no matter what the outcome of this is today, check, because you should be able to get that age deduction back.
I'm not gonna cry because it was big things.
Yeah,
so be sure and do that.
yeah,
Okay,
just.
so it,
I have a lot, my property needs a lot of the roof. And
is there a,
it just, when you walk up
oh
to
yeah,
my,
let's see a picture.
and see that my house is cracked, and I still love it, but it needs and my, and my doors don't lock. And I, it's just, it needs a lot of work, but I just don't want to sell it, so.
Do you have any questions for the petitioner, or should we let John testify? John. You're up.
Okay, now I started out and I did a, comparable sales analysis on this one like I did before on the others. And I won't bother going into it because I have some other, issues that are gonna override that, I believe. I can just tell you that the indication came up at around, the linear regression model came up at about 334,000, which is about what it's assessed at now, so. That was, pretty good comps. But what I discovered, when I looked at this, especially looking at the MLS listing, in 2021, it has photos of the interior of the house. And it had some other data. Now it revealed that, number one, the house has central air conditioning, which we haven't picked up. But also, one bathroom has a one-piece fiberglass shower insert, while the other has a one-piece tub shower insert. Now, this type of feature is considered somewhat substandard for a dwelling with a grade factor B. We normally see nicer bathrooms than that, something that we call in a B-grade house. And for reference, there are currently 13 other homes in Patterson Estates with grades ranging from C+1 to B. And I noticed that another one that had B had much nicer bathroom than yours. So I believe that your house is overgraded, and I would suggest a reduction in grade factor. And
So what are you suggesting?
I'll give you two different contingencies here. If the central air conditioning were added and the grade was lowered to B-1, one notch, it would reduce the value to 329,400, which is not a lot.
Okay,
If the central air conditioning were added and the grade was lowered to a C+2, total assessed value would be 312,800.
okay,
And I'm
and you're comfortable with either,
either one yet.
Tori?
Um,
Talk to me.
do we have it factored in, or have you seen what she's talking about, like foundation being correct?
No, on this particular house, she's saying the foundation's correct.
It's
It
correct,
needs-
correct.
When you walk into the house, which it's like this, and when I cannot lock the doors, and when I go downstairs, there's, they're just, it needs to be addressed, and I just don't have the money to do it.
So it's not correct, it's just.
The
not
foundation,
fitting.
well, it's always been like that, and the house isn't that old, but it was,
You think it's sagging in parts or something?
yeah, but I can't lock the slider in the back, I can't, the slider will not lock, you can't, and it's because of the foundation, I guess, but it's, like I put like a roller down into, so I'm sliding, but. It needs work, and I mean, I'm losing the gravel off the roof, and it's not normal, and the house isn't that old, so it's something I have to address later on down the road.
So. What you're saying is if you add. The central air in, but you lower the grade to the C+2 from the.
Yeah.
FP, it's a deduction of 22,100. Cause it'll go down to 312,800.
312,800, yeah.
Yeah. I am a little more comfortable with that, hearing some of these things that are wrong with it. And it's still keeping, I feel like a C+2 is still keeping it up for its age where it's
Okay.
at, however. That is adding AC like it should be.
Okay, so you're
So I'd make
make a
motion
motion to,
to lower the grade to a C+2 while adding the AC on there for a total of $312,800.
And I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. If there's nothing further, so we've lowered everything.
Make sure you stop in the auditor's office.
There's nothing further.
Okay. Thank you, dear. You guys are.
There, these proceedings are concluded. And see, thank you for filing an appeal, because we don't know stuff until people file appeal.
Right.
So, thank you,
You guys are good.
thank you,
You're a different story.
thank you.
You're good. I'm going upstairs.
Go upstairs. Okay. Nancy,
That's for that, not least.
so pronounce your last name for me.
It's Malice.
Malice.
Yeah, it's easy. You don't
Okay.
pick it up. Thank you.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Nancy Mouse.
Easy peasy. Everybody's thinking
Oh
so
my
hard.
gosh, are we back on schedule? Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Damn close. Here.
So I'm not giving you the speech
Nope.
because
No,
you now know.
Right.
In fact, you could sit here and I could go have more, I could go have more coffee or something. All right, so the total assessed value that you're appealing for 2025 is $186,100. And you believe the assessed value should remain at 2024 value for $161,100. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so. You want to tell us why you filed the appeal and why you believe the assessed value to be in error?
Well, I think it's an error, because I mean, I just moved in there and that's like, it'll be going on 3 years in November.
Okay,
And there's issues with the house, they have, like, not the foundation, but maybe it is the foundation. It's cracking, the house is old, haven't done any improvements, inside that make a huge change going from 160 something to. Can we see a picture?
yeah,
No, yeah, it's not as beautiful as that woman's house.
Oh, stop it.
House is beautiful.
oh, stop,
Mine's a shack.
stop it.
But it's home. That's my shack. That's it.
That's cute.
It is cute. I love my house. It's little. It's got one bathroom. The guy kept it up really nice. He was an older man. He was like in his 80s and he passed. So he kept it up. It's pretty well.
So you were saying that there's some issues regarding the condition of the house?
Yeah, like outside, I mean, look where the bricks are at on the bottom, like in the corner there is like huge cracks.
Okay,
So I don't know if that's considered tuck pointing or if that's part of the foundation, maybe the bricks go all the way around the house, big older bricks.
okay,
So I'm not sure what you guys consider that. This is all new to me. Never really have quite
you're doing a fine job.
So what do you consider? I mean, is that the bricks and stuff like that with the?
Yeah, as part of it, we put one overall condition to the house, and so you have to look at everything. Are there any issues inside in terms of, the finishes and like cracks in the walls or
No, there is no
stuff that
cracks.
hasn't
Yeah.
deferred maintenance?
Not
Okay.
No, No, like I said, he kept it up pretty well inside for being his
Okay.
age. He really did a great job.
So is that kind of like the big complaint is like the cracks and the.
Correct. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't see how you go from 167 to that.
No, I'm just saying as far as like what's
Correct.
wrong with the house.
Right, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, everything is.
Working
home.
and
Yeah,
well,
it's home, yeah.
you just like to know things that could help
Right.
determine if it is too high or if it's accurate. Nobody knows your house better than
I know, than me,
so.
Okay, John,
Okay, there was you purchased this property in 2022, right?
Correct.
For $175,000. Now, I'm gonna give you a copy of resale analysis. there's been market appreciation that's continuing throughout the county. And the best way to measure that is with this, which shows properties that have sold over the past few years. They're the properties that have sold twice actually without being significantly remodeled or any changes in between. So the only real difference is the time of the sale. So we can calculate the difference in the sale price and divide it by the time frame and get a percent change per year. And based on these 17 sales, we're showing about a 7% per year appreciation on average. Now, we do our trending, we analyze sales by neighborhoods, so certain neighborhoods go up more than others, but overall, there's about a 7% increase per year. If I apply that 7% per year increase to your 2022 sale, I come up with an adjusted sale price, or what I would expect it to sell for today, or at first of the 2025, of $201,075, which is a little higher than yours, sets lower than that. So from that point of view, comparing your sale price and the market appreciation, it doesn't look like you're too high. Now, like I explained before, on a lot of these, we do try to do a comparable sales analysis. Now, this house was kind of hard to do because there's not many older houses that have been remodeled like yours, so I really couldn't find good comps. What I did do is you listed some properties that you said were comparable. Now, these weren't properties that have sold, but
Right.
they're just properties you want to bring attention to. Now, I did an analysis with that, and then I picked a comparable property I found myself, which I thought was much better, and you can take a look at those. Now, on this sheet, your property is the yellow shaded row
Okay.
of data, and the three addresses that you chose are listed below. And I put down some color coding to show how comparable they are. Now, you've probably heard us mention before the issue with multi-stories versus ranch. You can't really compare two-story houses to one-story houses as far as comparability. Now, yours is a multi-story house, and of the three you mentioned, only one is a multi-story house, so the other two are ranch, so that makes them not really comparable at all. And let's see, kind of main problems are, sale number one has an effective year built that's 45 years older than the subject, and that its value will reflect much more physical appreciation than the subject. So number two and number three are ranch homes, which are not directly comparable to multi-story home. Also, number two is 20 years older, with a 15% lower grade factor and over $25,000 of outbuilding value, which your property doesn't have. And number three has a much lower grade factor. So really, the three properties you mentioned don't really, they're not comparable enough to, I mean, they're not sales first, so they can't give us any direct value indication, but even to try to look at equitability, they don't provide anything to help us. Now, I did choose, found a sale that was reasonably comparable to yours. It's on 410 Railroad Street. It has an effective year of 1989. Yours is 2000, so it's a little bit older. We have it in average condition versus good on yours. It's about the same size. It has a basement. I think it's an unfinished basement like yours. Now, this one doesn't have a garage that yours does, but outbuilding value is pretty similar. It's a little bit smaller than yours. And overall, it's got some plus or minus, but it's pretty good comp to yours. Now, it's coming up with $143.87 per square foot. Yours is currently assessed at $147.46, which is 2.5% higher. But your home, really, it is slightly superior. It is 11 years newer. And you do have a garage that the other property doesn't, and your land size is a little bit bigger. So it makes sense that yours should be a little more So I really can't find anything, any data to suggest that you're over assessed. I think that your current assessment is fair.
Did you just say the basement is unfinished?
So is mine. Mine just has wash and dry.
There's no carpet, no
No.
drywall?
Yeah,
Okay, so we
it's
just
just cement.
finished here. It says that she has 950 square feet finished.
Yeah, there's no finish down there, it's just the washer dryer like the same. Performance.
But there's no drywall, no carpeting, no
No,
flooring.
No, it's just like kind of like the brick that's outside the
Yeah.
house and
Okay,
the old stuff. But what is considered an effective year? What does that mean?
effective year bill, it is, basically,
Not when it was built.
no, it's not when, that's the actual year bill. The effective takes into account remodeling and renovations and changes over time. It's basically should be kind of a balanced average of all the materials. Because if you got an old house and you know, 20 years ago, it's stripped out and has all new carpeting and drywall and everything, you know, that part of the house is only 20 years old. And the other part might be 80 years old, so it's gonna have an effective year that's much newer than the original year built.
Now, how do you know in 2000 that they did updates or, you know, whatever?
Well, 2000 is just an average that we, you know, appraiser has estimated based on, right? Now, we have down that you had remodeling just recently. It may have been right, but it was a remodel before it sold to you, or did
He
you
didn't
do
do any
it?
remodel. I mean, I don't know what you guys consider remodeling, but he didn't do anything. Like,
Okay,
didn't break down walls and didn't put in like, you know.
Yeah, it might have been.
New plank, you know, so I don't know what you guys consider
yeah,
remodeling.
I don't know what it was, but,
There was not, I mean, nothing, I mean, there was no. You know, no kitchen, new cabinets, new bathroom, it's just a one bathroom, probably shower combo kind of thing, that was still old. But so I don't know what you guys consider. That even out.
yeah, let's put down an estimate, because the sale price was so high compared to the value that we had on it at the time, so we know that there had to have been some level of work done over the years to give it up, get the value of.
I mean, could he have put it that high, I mean, not saying that that was the high point, because. Coming from where I'm coming from. Out here is totally different, it's like night and day, I mean, houses out here are like nothing compared to back home. But he had, when he was listing his house, the two houses across the street were up for sale, which the one. Somebody moved into and now it's up for sale, it's almost been a year now that that's been sitting vacant, so do you think that he listed at that price? To compete with the other two?
So
No, I don't.
Who knows?
Then what him and
Yeah,
Barry
exactly,
decide.
I don't think they're.
Michelle, can we see? If we change the condition to average instead of good,
If we lower it from good to average,
I wanna see what that does.
Like I said, I mean, I don't know what you guys consider remodeling, because. Everything was still pretty much original, is what, because it was the son that was selling it for the father. Like I said, he passed.
I can't quite see that far.
180, 300. Or what are you looking at? Are you looking at that?
Yeah, 180,300, just over 180,000.
So now what does that mean?
so if we change the condition rating of the house from good, lowered it to average, the total assessed value would be reduced from 186,100 to 180,300. I think that's more reflective.
So now what do you guys, not to interrupt you, but what do you guys consider good and what do you consider average? Like what's, what draws the difference?
I'd say it's an overall rating, by the appraiser, and it does involve, it's a subjective judgment, but we have,
And that's you?
yeah, me or could be, one of my data collectors in the field.
So now you just come and you just drive past the house, do you get out of your car and like look at stuff, or do you just kind of
Well,
pick your eyeball?
conditions change over time. We do reassessments every 4 years, and during that period of time, we may observe changes to the house, say, hey, this doesn't look the condition, we have it down, make an adjustment.
Right.
Other
If you-
times-
Like an addition, you're saying like, you know,
Well, yeah, we have to factor that in, because the condition is relative to its effective age, so sometimes if we push the effective age up enough, we don't necessarily need to put the condition up as well.
And that's. So I like lowering the. So should we,
So I'll make a motion, I'd like to lower from a good condition to an average condition, which will bring it down to 180, 300, and then which is lowering it by $5,800.
so I will second the motion to lower the condition rating. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. If there's nothing further,
I do have, and I know it's like.
That's okay.
Yeah, now taxes wise, I mean, and so it goes from that, like, I think my taxes are kind of high still. Oh, and then that's okay. Like, what do I do for that?
So, as far as the taxes go, there are different deductions and things that you may qualify for. I don't know if you've been, to the auditor's office. And I'm not gonna make any guesses at your age or anything, or your, you might qualify for, if you live in it, you do qualify for the homestead.
Okay.
If you're over a certain age, you may qualify for the age.
And what's
If you're
that?
legally, like you have a social security award letter for a disability, you might qualify for that kind of a deduction. So I would check with the auditor's office and make sure you're getting all the deductions that you qualify for.
Right.
because you're already
Because that
here,
will-
just go upstairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that is the side that helps with taxes.
Right.
Because what happens is your deductions come off then before the tax rate is applied, come off of this assessed value. So you want to make sure you have everything you can possibly get.
Okay, so I don't have to give them anything up there, they'll know everything?
Right, this assessment that, the 186 has not even been
Right.
transferred to them
Right.
yet, so, but they'll have your last year's assessment they can look at, and they can,
Open there.
go from there and
Cool.
see what.
Okay, if there's nothing further,
Listen to her.
these proceedings are concluded.
Thank you, thank you, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Stay inside, it's horrible out there. It's unbearable, drink a lot of water. Thank you.
Okay,
Then
yeah, me too. So when you get back, I will.
We still have that. I don't know, this TV is not working for some reason. I feel bad making them turn around to see what we're looking at, but. For some reason, it's not, the signal isn't going. And I am not an IT person.
Me too. Don't wanna be. Don't wanna be.
Technology is not my friend. So we still have that,
No show.
Ladislaw, yeah, the no-show.
Yeah.
And then Prisky is supposed to be here in like 10 minutes.
Okay,
So,
and I gotta go to the girls' room too when Tori gets back.
okay, no problem.
So, well, who that? Well, Bugger. He was a pill. What's his name?
Cox,
Yes,
you're on the record, don't forget. I mean, we're.
okay. We're caught up. So, and the last one isn't attending,
Right.
but we want to make it for, we want to
We
do
want-
it.
you
so
want to,
it's
yeah, so
Schmiegel.
actually, so both of those we could do. Oh, I'm waiting for Prusky, because she's not due for 10 more minutes.
Okay, I gotta sneak down. Sneak down the hall. And I'll be back.
All right.
I'll be back.
It's up there to look at the July hearing. Go up. At least call them.
Yeah,
That's gonna bother me, you know. Yeah, no, she lives out of state. I wonder.
she did not call or send me something to hear it in her absence or anything, so I don't know. If she plans to be here or not. But she's still got 8 minutes or whatever, so.
Okay. Well, we've got a no show to do. Till then. Yeah, me too. No show and maybe the last one. You're going out in the street.
We'll just change the chairs, you know.
Okay. So we're going to do, gosh, I can't. Pronounce
Lots.
Jed, the
Ladislaw would
Jedrol,
Jila? I don't know.
I'm gonna say Jedrol. Oh, Boguslaw, I don't know. Because I don't. Where am I at? Oh, better do this. Okay. So we're on the record. 15. So the petitioners. General Boguslaw was scheduled for a hearing today at 9:15 a.m. It is now 10:40 a.m. I will ask the county assessor if the petitioners called and asked for the hearing to be rescheduled.
No,
Was the hearing notice returned as undeliverable?
no.
Okay, we will then do this hearing in the absence of the petitioners. The total assessed value being appealed is 179,600. The petitioners indicated that they believe that the assessed value should remain at the 2024 assessment of 163,200. Their reason is, I believe this says, I am a pensioner. I have little money. So they provided no evidence. John. Do you have any testimony or evidence regarding this appeal?
Yeah, I did a comparable sales analysis, which you'll find in the chart
Okay.
there. The comparables, the best comparables I could find are a little bit inferior, 5% inferior in grade and average condition versus good for this subject. The comparison of the cost per square foot was, comps come in at $116.35, whereas the subject comes in at $111,000 or $111 per and 83 cents per square foot using its current assessed value. So on a raw per square foot basis, they look to be the subject appears to not be overassessed. When I do the linear regression, with these 12 sales, I come up with an indicated sale price of 176,400. Now, that is a tad lower than our current assessed value, but if you look at the comps, you'll see that we're talking about on a composite comparable that's about 5% lower in grade and lower in condition. So we would expect the current assessed value or the probable sale price to be a little higher than that 176. So I think the current assessed value of 179,600 is reasonable.
Thank you.
Let me see if it fares so well.
Yeah. But so you're okay?
Yes, I'm okay with both of those being
Okay.
in good
Okay.
condition. I think I would make motion to, for no changes.
Okay, no change on the assessed value?
Correct.
And I will second that motion, no change on the assessed value, it remains at 179,600. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We've got a few minutes. So, Michelle, you want us to do
Bradley,
Mr.
Scott
Bradley? Mr. Bradley. Mr. Bradley. Okay. Mr. Bradley. And we're doing it because Michelle, because Mr. Bradley called and said that he would not appear at the hearing.
Correct, he
And-
said
and
we
we-
could hear it
and
in
we
his
could-
absence.
We could hear, address his hearing in his absence. Is that correct? All right.
He called yesterday and, I called him back this morning and missed him, and then he called back prior to the start of the hearings.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Bradley filed an appeal on the assessed value for 2025 of 268,100. And didn't indicate on the appeal form, I don't believe.
I can,
do you want to speak to this?
yeah,
Okay.
I can speak for
Okay.
him. I've talked to him several times on the
Okay,
phone.
you'll speak to
So
this.
his main issue was that, like, a former petitioner earlier, he had lost the age deduction because his assessment raised too high.
Okay,
So he wanted to try and get the assessment back down. He, and John did a comparable sales analysis, which indicated it might be a little over assessed, and so made some corrections for him.
okay,
And he said, I will agree to settle at that if it'll get me my age deduction back. And, at that time, we weren't sure whether the, law regarding that was gonna pass or what was gonna happen. It's my understanding now that there is no, assessment requirement with regard to the age deduction anymore.
okay,
So that's why he said he didn't feel he needed to be here as long as he was getting that deduction back.
okay,
He wasn't upset at the change in value. It wasn't quite low enough for the old requirements on the age deduction.
Okay.
That's why he was gonna come in today.
okay.
So
And
do you have it in, like, did he put it in writing that he agrees
He
to
did,
John's changes that John had made, or?
he did not put it in writing, which is why I wanted you guys to go ahead and make a decision. He had said over the phone and reiterated again when I've spoken to him, today, that he's okay with those changes as long as he's getting the age deduction.
Which we don't have control really over
Right.
the age deduction, so,
Right.
so, we're just gonna approve disapprove.
Of John
Changes.
changes.
Okay.
Right,
Yes.
and I believe I misspoke, because the assessed value that was appealed, I misspoke earlier. The assessed value that was appealed was 279,400
Originally.
originally, and then after John's, pardon me. Oh, I shouldn't speak for him, but after John's review of the assessment, the assessed value was lowered to 268,100. Is that a correct
Yeah.
statement, John? Okay.
So
There's a comparable sales analysis,
And did you arrive at that, sorry again, John, by applying this 5% obsolescence? Or was that already on
no, that's what I added because.
to arrive at the 268?
My linear,
Is that correct?
right.
Okay.
My linear regression came up with 268,900 some,
Okay,
and by giving a 5% obsolescence, I got it just a little bit under that, so
Okay.
it works good.
so that's still your recommendation?
Right.
Okay, okay, thank you. Tori, do you have any other questions or comments?
nope, I'd make a motion to accept the 268,100 for the assessed values.
And I will second that motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay. Well, we're just doing swimmingly. 10:45. Gosh, I wonder if our 10:45 is coming. Shall we go ahead and do the 10, it's 10:45? Story thoughts?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Our next appeal, Judy Prusky, maybe. Was scheduled to appear at 10:45. It's now 10:50. She's not present at the hearing. I will ask Michelle if the petitioner called and asked for the hearing to be rescheduled.
No,
Was the hearing notice returned as undeliverable?
no.
Okay. Oh. We will then move forward with this hearing in the absence of the petitioner. So the total assessed value that is being appealed for 2025 is 60,400. I believe the petitioner indicates the assessed value is better represented at the 2024 value of 56,300, and she indicated on the appeal form. And I'm reading from 130 form, the property is over evaluated for the condition. There is no working heat or water heater or stove. NIPSCO would not even turn gas on due to no working appliances. So I'm assuming this isn't livable. So John, do you have any testimony or evidence you'd like to give the board regarding this appeal?
Your pictures.
Bill, I just, now noticed that we don't have heat taken off on it, or no heat. Does definitely need that. Yeah, this house has not been occupied regularly since 2005, and utilities were shut off in 2018. Because of the rather unusual circumstances, I can't do a meaningful sales comparison analysis. The petitioners filed an appeal every year since 2020 except 2022. And the assessor has agreed to lower the value each time it was appealed. The petitioner agreed to settle each year. Rather than informally reducing the value again for 2025, the assessor has decided to allow this appeal to proceed so that the board may weigh in the face of continual market depreciation, should we continue to make offsetting value reductions on the property. Now, I do think we need to make the reduction for no heating.
Which is how much?
You'd have to plug that in the system and see.
Okay,
Sure.
okay.
It's easy.
Easy peasy?
Yeah, but I mean, regardless if they have no heat, they have no heat. So
Right.
That doesn't come off. But I agree, I'd like to see the.
Is, I can't see that far.
Go to the next main improvement tab. And it would be the second to the
Right
last,
there,
right
that
there, under that middle one. Yeah, we need.
I don't
to-
know what the square footage is of the car.
What did you say? 900 square feet. Is that what you wanna know?
Click that little button, and I think it should put the number in.
Or,
It'll pop, should pop in.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
never done this one before.
No.
So
Never.
58,000 even.
That's what it. So how much of a deduction was that?
So that,
2,400.
Thank you. And so that makes the total assessed value, say it again, John, I'm sorry,
58,000 even.
even, okay.
And I had made some charts showing what the value, how we changed it every year, but the main point was I didn't want to just turn around, and change it. Actually, if I had seen this, I probably would have done that and maybe we'd have been done with it, but
That's okay.
we'll get this done. And I also made a copy of her tax statement to show that with the changes we made last year, her value went up 1.6%. And at the same time, that dropped her taxes. Her tax burden went down 7.7 because that 1.6 is much lower than the typical for the neighborhood increase. So even though the values may go up a little, her taxes are not going up.
right.
So I would suggest this change, just adding the no heat.
Okay,
So unless you have questions
I do not.
or concerns, I'll make a motion to move the heat. Bring the assessed value, which would bring the assessed value down to 58,000.
I will second that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay.
If you use that night. What the heck?
Oh, his first paragraph. John, you're a troublemaker.
Yeah, 5 minutes till
Yep,
I'm gonna step outside and pull this person back.
that's fine. Okay. They walk in and get me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just now getting chilly, so I'm glad the air turned off.
And this one is scheduled for 5 minutes from now, so.
Yep, Lori said she had to make a real quick phone call. So we're right on schedule. Who knew?
We managed to get back on track.
Who knew? So did you go to the fair this week, Michelle?
No, I can't go to the fair. I have allergies that.
Oh, you do?
That are very prohibitive.
And I bet it was horrible. Because it was on
My
the South
husband
Bend
has
News, those
been
poor
every-
animals, those poor kids.
My
You know,
husband's been every night,
with the
so.
heat in the, oh my, oh my.
I'll see you in a bit and we'll.
Thought she'd be here, because she's usually there when I pop by the house.
The next petitioner,
Yeah,
is this the house of our next petitioner? Okay.
Mhm, yes.
Well, Michelle, you're Johnny on the spot.
I'm trying to get everything.
How long do you have to keep these recorded hearings? Do you know?
I do not know, but we are posting them live to YouTube while we're doing them.
Okay.
And I don't know, I feel like once something's on the internet, it's.
Oh, it's their
forever.
life. That's true. That's true.
So,
That's true.
yeah, I don't know how long we personally have to keep them. That's an IT,
Yeah, that's.
that's their, that's in their
Okay,
purview.
great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know the minutes of our hearings are considered a permanent record. I don't know about previous assessors where those are kept, but I have all the minutes from since I took over as assessor.
Okay. Okay.
And I know where those are.
That's all that matters. You can account for your time.
Yes.
That's all that matters. Come on, Tori.
Employment records used to also be a permanent record, government employment records, but now we just have to keep a list of anybody who ever worked
Really?
for us, and certain things have to be in that spreadsheet, like if they were fired with cause, or if they quit, or if,
Mhm.
you know, if they're rehirable, basically. Yeah, there's just like a list of, we have to keep like a spreadsheet of everyone who ever did, but not all of their whole file.
Right. Huh.
We'll save
Because
some space.
it's partially that part would be public information.
Yes, yeah.
That portion. Yes. Huh. Interesting.
We used to have to keep all the files, and the crazy thing is that the auditor would have to keep all those same employment record files too, so it was like double
Double.
the space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Who knew?
yeah.
We got one more. Then I believe we're done.
See if I can fit this in.
And John stated he believed they would show up, so, but it's already 5 minutes past, so I don't know what you guys want to do.
We can, I mean, if you believe they're gonna show, we can give them another couple
it's
minutes.
just that I've never called her, I always just stopped by the house, she was always there, and she's
Mhm.
friendly, personable, and I figured she'd, unless she, well, if she couldn't get a ride here, I think she'd call us or something, but.
Yeah, I would have.
We don't have any contact info for her, do we?
No, she hasn't contacted me at all. There's a long distance phone number on her Form 130.
Which, is this the one that lives in Texas?
No,
That's
she
all
lives
it
on
is.
the property.
Oh, sorry, that was the last, okay. Why don't we give her another 5?
Okay.
Let's just, yeah, let's give her another 5. That'll be
That's
10
fine.
after, and
That's
if she
fine.
doesn't show up, then we'll see. I've already,
Okay,
yeah, I called, that's
That's who you
I called
called.
them, yeah.
To say sorry, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to make my, I mean, I figured if we weren't done by 10:45, I wasn't gonna be able to anyway, so when we took that break, I went outside and called them.
Mhm.
That I wasn't gonna be able to go. No biggie.
I wonder if she just forgot.
Do you wanna check that phone number? I don't.
I don't
problem.
have a phone. I don't bring my phone
I
with
have a
me.
phone, I mean, we can try to do that, we'll wait till she gets back, but
try to call.
Yeah, there is a number she said she had, we can try it, then this way we try all avenues that we can. And if, can't get her on the phone, we'll just proceed, no problem.
All right. Oh, you have this in here. I can see that that's.
Let you know. I'll definitely, but I'm gonna let you talk. First.
Hmm. Did you read that first paragraph? Because I may disagree with you about the phone call. After reading, it's too late. Who's calling?
We're trying to.
The person you're trying to reach is not available.
They're not available.
Okay. Let's get started,
Which, I think either way, it's fine.
right? Because I think he's got some suggestions.
Right,
Oh,
that was just a shot at her being present.
I understand. So our 11 o'clock petitioner, Eva. Oh, boy. Does anybody know the name of this nice
You
lady?
know how to pronounce her name,
No.
John?
Eva Bojko Potzak. Making this up as I go. Is not present at the hearing this morning. She was sent a hearing notice to appear this date at 11 a.m. It is now 11:10. Michelle, did the petitioner call and ask for the hearing to be rescheduled?
No.
Was the hearing notice returned as undeliverable?
No.
Okay, we will. Move forward on this hearing in the absence of the petitioner. The total assessed value we're appealing is $88,400. I believe that she indicates the value.
She's calling back.
Oh, boy. Okay,
Hello, this is the Starke County Assessor's Office. We're here at your PTABOA hearing. And you were scheduled to be here at 11 a.m.
I won't be here because I have to travel for.
Okay, would you just like us to hear it in your absence?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
I mean, do I have any stories?
no,
Okay, so, yeah.
so
Thank
thank
you.
you. You'll
Thank
be
you.
notified of the outcome.
and thank you, and we'll notify you of the outcome by mail.
Safe travels.
Yes, I appreciate that I'm sorry about that, but it was not planned.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Bye bye. I
Bye,
appreciate it. Bye.
bye-bye.
Okay, the petitioner just returned the assessor's phone call and the petitioner had forgotten that the hearing was today, which is fine. So we will move forward with this petition in the absence of the petitioner. And again, the total assessed value that's being appealed is $88,400. Petitioner contends the assessed value is better represented at $81,000. The petitioner completed the Form 130. And it states, I'm going to read it to the best of my ability. Roof of the detached garage is in disrepair. And March 30th this year during storm, a tree fell on the garage and crushed the back wall and side of the garage. Also 11 trees. Something about pines, 7 in front of the property,
Mature pines.
mature pines. 7 in front of the property and home in the back. I was not adequately compensated by insurance. Also citing on house and facade. Well, house was damaged. Okay. John. Do you have any testimony or evidence you'd like to give regarding this appeal?
Petitioner filed an appeal last year, and it was basically the same complaint, although she does mention a recent storm that fell and crushed the garage wall. Now, that's my only right off the bat recommendation would be that we could go ahead and take, that's the only outbuilding listed on our property, and it's, I already had it written down. And actually sound valued at $400. We could bring that down to a minimum of $100. House itself, I drove by, didn't see any obvious damage. I did do a, it was hard to do actually, I did do a comparable sales analysis. It's just that this one's not as strong as some of our others. If you look at the chart, I found 7 comparable sales. There is a little bit of difference between the composite of the comparables. They're about the same year, but I couldn't find ones as low a grade as the subject. And the subject is a little bit larger than comps that I could find, generally speaking. The linear regression came up to $104,000 as an indication of value, but I wouldn't put a great deal weight on this because we're only talking about 7 sales, and if you look at the chart, the dots are kind of spread out. Coefficient dispersion is higher than I'd like to see. So I don't have real strong support for the value, but that stands as some evidence that the value may not be overassessed. Even the cost per square foot does the same thing. That her cost per square foot, in terms of the way it's priced, is lower than the comps. But again, she does have a lower quality house than the comparables. I just didn't want to turn around and keep lowering this year after year on an informal basis and set that as a pattern. I wanted it to come to the board so that you guys could decide what to do. Now, we have it currently in fair condition with an extra 5% obsolescence on the house. I think the grade is probably as low as it needs to go, if not too low already. I don't think there's anything we can do on grade, but.
I think I'm comfortable with the grade being fair.
With the condition of fair and the grade at D-1?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. Okay. So John's then recommending just sound valuing the utility shed at $100.
Right.
Which lowers the assessed value by 300. So it's 88.1 versus 88.4.
Right,
Are you comfortable with that?
I am.
Okay, so
Oh, sorry.
I'll make a motion that we accept John's recommendation to sound value the utility shed at $100, which lowers the total assessed value from 88,400 to 88,100. That's my motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. If there's nothing else to discuss at the PTABOA today, these proceedings are concluded. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. See everyone in July.
July 17th.